aquaculture. The bio of the speaker is Dr. Narottam Prasad Sahu is a principal scientist and head of the Department of Fish Nutrition, Biochemistry and Physiology Division at Center Institute of Fisheries Education, India. He got Fellow of National Academy of Veterinary Sciences, Fellow of Maharashtra Academy of Science, Achievement Award by CLF-MA of India, presented at 56th National Symposium 2014 on From Food to Nutrition Security, the Importance of Animal Protein at Kochi, 2015. Jawaharlal Outstanding of ICAR PhD Thesis Award was given by Ms. Siji Alexander with NP Sahu as major guide. His research interests are in enhancing carbohydrate utilization as a strategy to reduce fish production cost, stress physiology, and mitigation strategies, immunoceuticals, utilization of protein isolates from non-edible seed. On behalf of Sitara, I welcome you, sir.
Thank you very much. So, shall I share my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Oh, some problem here. Let me check.
Otherwise, if you want, Dr. Sahu, you can email to me. I will share the screen.
Just now.
Okay. Okay.
Some problem. Let me see. Is it visible? Screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
it is visible.
Okay. So, hopefully I am audible to all and the screen is visible.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, sure.
So, good evening, everybody. And I am thankful to the faculty members, senior faculty member of the CITARA and the students, mostly the postgraduate students of IIT Bombay and other audience present here. And I am thankful to give me this opportunity to interact with you all. And I feel that I am the odd man out among the engineers here, but definitely I will not talk anything on biology. And of course, I will not discuss anything in engineering, but definitely I will try to connect between the biology and this engineering. The basic objective is that how the different small technology that can, I'll just infuse some idea how the students can develop small technology, some gadgets that can be utilized for our marginal farmers. For the big farmers, entrepreneurs, it is absolutely not a problem, but definitely there is a gap that for the Indian marginal farmers, something we need to do. Now, what we'll do, how you should do, there's some idea that how I can infuse among the young minds of the students so that they can do something and the farmers will be benefited. This is the basic objective of this seminar. So obviously, I have given a picture like this. This is a robotic fish, so that obviously I will talk something about the biology, the technological interventions. So that's the purposeful I have given these things. So it is customary to give about our institutes because I am from Central Institute of Fisheries Education, Mumbai. This is located in Warsaw. This is on the west. You are on the east. So only it needs our views to connect. Of course, today we have made a MOU between IIT Bombay and the CIF. So this is a good day that we are having a seminar also. So this CIF or Central Institute of Fisheries Education comes under administrative control of ICAR, that is Indian Council of Agriculture Research, which comes under Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. So this institute got to the deemed university on 1989. So as a deemed university, it is only 30 years old. But as an institute, it started from 1979. So that way, or as the original as a training institute at Maharashtra, it was in 1961. So that way, it is more than 70 years old. So this institute's the basic mandate is to give the postgraduate education, fishery education. So this institute imparts on master's and PhD program. We don't have any UG program here. And beside this also, we are giving the basic and strategic research in frontier areas of fishery science. Beside this, human development, capacity building, different that is demand-driven courses that we used to conduct here. We are having this 5 centers. One is Rothok. That center takes care of the inland saline aquaculture, because that inland saline aquaculture is different than the coastal saline areas. Then we are having Kakinada, where we take care for the both freshwater and the saline water, that is brackish water. And Pawarkada in Madhya Pradesh, we are having for the freshwater research. And Kolkata, we are having for the training programs. So these are, and recently we are having at Motipur. Last year only we have developed 1 more center. So totally we are having 5 centers. And we, as I told that we offer the master's and PhD programs in 11 disciplines. For master's, we are taking 93 students every year. And for PhD, we are taking 67 students every year. Besides this, we are giving PG diploma courses for the in-service candidates of fisheries of different departments. So this is in nutshell about institutes. And till now, because you know that our intake capacity is not just like IIT Mumbai, because you are dealing with mainly that UG. And till now, we have 364 PhD and masters around 2,500 and others 2,500. The degree students have been awarded. Now, going to, this is about our institutes. From when are going to fisheries, it's also to appraise you something about the fisheries, the importance of fisheries, what is the government lookout, how government is looking to this sector, what is the government expectation from this sector. You know that if you are having the idea that fishery means just going and catching the fish, it's not like that. It has been transformed from these traditional fisheries to totally high-tech fisheries. So it is only due to technology support only we have reached. I will tell you what is the contribution of fishery to this sector, and it is still growing and still it needs some technological support we are expecting from you. Then it is just a nutshell, a snapshot of the fishery sectors. That is, the fishery sector is growing. That is aquaculture is growing at the rate 10.88%. That is highest among the all food producing sector in the world, in India as well. That is 10.88. It's a very high growth rate, and in the last 5 years it is maintaining this growth rate. And if you are coming to the fish productions, this growth rate is 7.53. So there will be confusion. You know that is fish production from aquaculture. That is culture aspect. Fish production from the capture side. That is from sea or from that is not culture. That is capture, natural capture methods. So if you mix together, then average also 7.53. And this expert value from fisheries and aquaculture, that is 9.71%. So percentage wise, it's very good high figure from fishery sector from last 5 years. That's why that government is focusing much on this sector. That's why in 1980 and 19 that they have created a independent department of fisheries, and first time in the history in India, they have created a new Ministry of Fisheries and Animal Husbandry in 19 and 20. And if you see that India occupies the second largest aquaculture producer in the world, which contributes 7.73% of the total fish production of the world. Coming to the total export value, last year only, it is around 47,000 crore from the marine export sectors. So that is the highlight of which government has been focusing more on this sector, because you know that is due to this urbanizations, industrializations, everything, the land availability is coming down and down. So that what 2050, there will be 9 billion people will be there across the globe, which will be equivalent to two India, two countries like India, the populations, we have to feed more. That's why we have to produce more from the same land, or we can say from the reduced resources. That means land and water. From the same land or less land and water, we have to produce much more. That's why this is the biggest challenge, that we have to exploit the water resources, and we have to produce more the quality protein sources. If you just giving a comparative figure with last 5 years, the food production figure you see, it is almost static. That means if you want to, if you expect that we can double the production, it is impossible. That means we have already reached this stage where much more expectation, much more production is not possible, unless otherwise some totally different technologies applied. So we are not expecting any uh, more production from the agriculture side in future. But if you see the aquaculture side, from 1981 to 2019, the tremendous growth. There is increasing trend. So, and it will continue as I told, at present it is, the growth rate is 10%. So 10% very high, and it is expected much on this sector. Now, realizing this, recently, maybe last week only, that our Prime Minister, he has this release, Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, for which he has given 20,050 crore for this program. This is a very high ambitious program. These 5 years, they have given a target. What is the target? The fish production from 13.7 million ton will be increased to 22 million ton within 5 years, which will be translated into the a very average growth rate of 7.53 to 9%. Though we are maintaining 10%, but it is expected that the average growth rate, both considering the aquaculture and capture, from 7.53 to 9%. And the aquaculture productivity, the average productivity from 3.3 ton per hectare should be 5 ton per hectare. And at the same time, the export value, as I told, it is 47,000 crore, should reach 1 lakh crore within 5 years. 5 years. That means by 2024-25, the export value should be 1 lakh crore. And the measured losses till now, it is 25% losses. That is a processing loss. It should be reduced to 10%, so that 15% will save, it will be diverted for food. The employment generation at the same time, from 15 lakh to 55 lakh. This is the employment generation within 5 years. And the fish consumption, it is 5 kg per capita to 12 kg per capita, though the world per capita consumption is 20 kg. So this is the target within 5 years, very highly ambitious project and high target oriented. That's why the government is giving all the scope for, even for the students not only from the fishery sector, any sector, students come with startup, the money they want to take, that provision has been made to support the students to come up with any startup, new idea, innovative idea, to support the farmer, to support the productions. This is all about how this fishery sector government is looking towards. That means a huge potential is there in these sectors, and it needs the technological support for enhancing the production. As you know, that is government's slogan is doubling the farmers' income by 2022. So when we are determined to increase the doubling the production, definitely, as I told, that production is coming to a halt, a static level. So technological innovation, technological intervention is the only answer to go ahead. Now, coming to today's seminar, that the technological intervention, why and what, why I am giving this idea, I'm infusing the idea among the students. Today, only due to time limit, I will discuss about the 20 technology, where students can think either to modify or to come out with some new idea, so that students, our farmers, will be benefited. How they will be benefited? First, I will tell why we want some technological intervention or refinement. That is for to get a accurate information, because as we are dealing with the biological means it is a biological enterprise, so the data should be very accurate. The more accurate data you are getting, the more interventions and the more production will be there. And after getting the information, the quick action should be possible. That is only through if you are giving this information through technological support. This will save the time and money as well. And at the same time, it will protect the money. Then what we want? We want that what farmers are doing manually, it should be transferred to the mechanization. Then the equipments should be available to them with an affordable price. And some equipments are available, but this is not affordable. It needs some modification. These three things we want. That means if we want to give something to the farmers, it should be affordable and it should be user friendly. These two things are required for the farmers. As I told, 87% of the farmers are marginal farmers. They are not access to any type of these new gadgets or new this is information revolution systems. This, if we can do something, our students can think something for them, then it will be a great contribution for them. Then coming to what are the different type of activities in aquaculture? That is, these are the different activities, either pond preparation, stocking, then harvesting, feeding, water quality monitoring, and breeding. These are the different activities which farmers are associated. For during these activities, many things they are doing manually. That I will discuss one by one, which needs some technological interventions. If we can give something, they will be benefited by these mechanizations. It will be definitely a great help for them. Besides this, harvesting also is one area which needs different activities. The gear selection, site selection, quality analysis, processing, stock assessment, that I will discuss. Coming to number one technology. One is aquatic weed control. As I told that I will not take anything, discuss anything biology. I am giving totally pictorial presentation so that it will be easy to understand by all the students here and the faculty members. So that if something out of 20 technology I will discuss, if at least 2 or 3 technology, it has been clicked the mind of the students, definitely the seminar will be successful. Now, as you know that these weeds are the menons in the pond. That when weeds are more, definitely they share the same nutrient in the pond, which at the cost of the fish only. If these weeds will grow, definitely they will extract all the nutrients which will not be available to the fish. So fish growth will be reduced. Now, this manually, if you see this manually, it has been done at a very tedious job. If it's a large 10-hectare pond is there, you know that a lot of labors will be required, boat will be required, and it will not be that so efficient. At the same time, the heavy equipments are there. If you have seen that Dal Lake in Kashmir, if you haven't seen that very huge equipments are used to remove the weeds from the lake, but that is not possible to be affordable by the farmers. If you see that submerged weed, there is a very small equipment that it can be cut easily. So this thing may be helpful to the farmers. Otherwise, farmers has to uproot the weed manually, and it is not possible by them. But anyway, they are doing it only because nothing is available. So if like this, if something very easily, very with a low cost can be developed, it will be a great help to the farmers. This is the one appeal for myself, that how we can develop some gadgets or equipments where the weed can be removed with a low cost. This is the one thing. Number two, that estimation of the primary productivity. What is this? This primary productivity means I am telling about the planktons. Naturally, nature has given a plankton for the fish. So definitely this is the best food for them. But due to our benefit only, what we are doing, we are giving the feed. But definitely for the fish, the first choice will be the planktons. So when a pond contains good plankton, definitely growth of fish will be better. So to measure the plankton growth, what we used to do, you know, that is this is called sachet disk. That means that a round disk, it is colored, 4 squares are there, made with black and white color with 4 quarters. It is released, it is dropped to the water, and the moment they used to release it, or they used to allow to dip it till it is visible. Obviously, if more planktons will be there, which gives a green color, definitely with a it will not be visible after very small distance. But if water is transparent, definitely the disk will be visible once it is go to more depth. So this is the traditional practice by the farmers to know the productivity of the pond. So generally 40 to 70 centimeters it considered to be adequate for the plankton productivity. That means the plankton production is good. That means supplementary feed requirement will be less. That's why if can we develop something, it is clear from next slide. You see, this is the plankton net. This plankton net is used to collect the plankton from the pond, and from here only it is released. That means that whether it is possible to measure the plankton productivity of the pond digitally. That means simply we'll just take the water and some measurement we can do it so that digitally it will give a reading. So it will be a great help to the farmers. And it will be accurate reading will be there. This can be done by the chlorophyll, estimating the chlorophyll. This is nothing but the green coloration of the pond water. It is due to this chlorophyll only. So can you estimate the chlorophyll content of the water? That will indirectly give this the productivity value, plankton productivity of the pond. Otherwise, also we can measure the indirect oxygen consumption. So more the planktons are there. If we can take some water where the planktons are there, if we will keep in a closed jar, definitely after some time they will consume some oxygen there. So the difference in oxygen, initial and final, that will give indirectly presence of the this planktons. So you see, this is the third one. This is the satellite images. The satellite images can give us the plankton, presence of plankton, the quantum of plankton in the water, in the sea. So why you can't develop this thing? So this is very small things. I hope that our students, at least master students, PhD students, they can develop taking some water, which can give a digital value, so that it will be very accurate measurement and it will be a friend for the farmers. This is the second one. Then third one, that water quality monitoring. You know that the best production from the pond can be expected when the water quality parameters are optimum. These are the 4, 5, or 8, 10 parameters we used to collect. So when we are going for high stocking density, definitely the water quality parameter plays a major role. But these water quality parameters, now we are doing it with different probes, but the probes are very costly. For example, that is oxygen, that is a diometer. It is a good quality diometers. It's costing around 70,000 rupees, 75,000 rupees. But for other things, it also different type of probes are there. But common farmers, the marginal farmers, they cannot afford for this type of things. Big farmers, it is not a big problem for them. So what is required here that I have given, you see, these are the different type of gadgets available to estimate the different water quality parameters. The best one is that if the pH meter is very cheaper and farmers can do it. Other things, definitely cost will be involved. But can you do something where it is in the affordable price, farmer can do or check the water quality parameters, which will be great help for them to maintain the productivity or even to accelerate the productivity. Now, just I'm giving an idea because IoT enabled real-time water quality monitoring, because even if at a remote place also, even the pond is in a remote place, the water quality parameters can be monitored for this IoT enabled real-time water quality monitoring systems. It is there, but definitely it will be costly. But when these systems are there, whether any scope is there to modify it, and it can be extended to the marginal farmers. When technology is there, definitely cost can be reduced if you are having an innovative idea. These things are there, these are these systems, automatic systems are there. The last one, this is the water quality, integrated water quality management system or smart water monitoring systems. It floats in the water and it measures very periodically, it measures the water quality parameter and send them information through the IoT. So even if you are not present in the pond, but at home only, you are getting all the information about the water quality parameter of your pond. This system is there, but definitely at the cost of money. But can it be extended for the small farmer, marginal farmers? This is the challenges. So we can think this way, that how these water quality parameters can be made easily available to the farmers in a very user-friendly manner at affordable price. This is affordable price I'm always checking, because 87% farmers, they cannot afford for any equipments 1 lakh rupees, 1.5 lakh rupees. They cannot. So This is the challenge, that how we can afford our farmers with a very affordable price so that they will get a very accurate information. If they get the accurate information, definitely the production can be enhanced, because more production means only at the cost of the good water quality. If you are going to high stocking density, that definitely water will pollute it. So you have to maintain it. So that's why it needs to be measured accurately. Number 4 is, this is the aerations. That means when you are going for high stocking density, definitely the oxygen availability in the water will be the biggest problem. That's why you have to supplement water, or you have to increase the water, dissolved oxygen content of the water. I have given a very, this is you doc, this is a very natural system. That means when nature has given this dog, when they are in the water or in the pond, when they are swimming, definitely they are mixing the water with the air. That is the way how the dissolved oxygen content is increasing. So this concept is coming whenever we are going for very high stocking density, we have to provide oxygen externally. So there are different methods are there. First one is, from gravity it is coming. It is very cheaper. But whenever you are using some motors and everything, definitely you are putting some cost. Not only cost, you are also putting some energy. Yes, now the solar driven system is coming. Automatic solar driven system is coming. And but definitely it is not cheaper. One the pedal wheel aerator, it is the small one will be 30,000 rupees, and for a big pond, the number of this is a shrimp pond, like how many aerators are there. So definitely it is not only one, number of aerators. So if one is 30,000 rupees, and if it 30 50 are there, then even the capital investment is very high. So what is the challenges? This is a low cost, power saving, mechanical rather than power operated. This is the things required for developing something for the farmers. That is science is there, that we can develop something, but transforming science to the to actual usable for the farmers, this is the challenging. That if you know the basic, if you know the idea, that I think that hopefully I am very sure that it can be developed. Then another technology, that is a seed counter. This is one you see that this traditionally the farmers used to sell the seed by hand counting, and it's time consuming, and sometimes also they used to use sometimes that any utensils. Suppose they take a utensils, one utensil they will take and they will count how many pieces are there, and accordingly they count as a unit. So many errors will be there. So that is by imaging system that we can develop. Systems are there. Rather, I can say that is seed counter accurately. That when we are taking an image, then it will accurately give you information how many seeds are there. So this system, it is a very high-tech system, and these are used when their high-value fish are used. But when our farmers are used the carp, rohu, katla, mrigal, definitely they will not use this thing because it is costly. But I am giving a model of this thing. Simply one camera which can be kept over the tank or an aquarium, and images can be taken, and that images can be counted. That images can process and can counted very quickly. This is possible. So again, I have putting a question mark on the cost. So can you develop a seed counter at an affordable price for the farmer? Now, another technology, feeding devices. This is very important because for any farming, 60% of the cost comes from the feed. For the you might be knowing or not, I don't know, but for your information, for shrimp feed, 1 kg shrimp feed is costing around 100 rupees, which may be costing more than the human food. So when 1 kg feed is 100 rupees, you can imagine that how farmers should be careful for the wastage. For even if 10 gram, 10% is wastage, means it is 10 rupees is a waste for them, and every day they are feeding. So now that robotic feeding, precise feeding, this system has come, automatic feeding system, it has come. But you see the first two, still then our farmers are using either broadcasting, they throw the feed to the pond, or they are putting the feed in the pond, in a bag, and they used to just hang the bag in the pond. So that way there's a loss of feed is there. So now that when we are planning to go for that high stocking density, we cannot just afford the wastage of feed. It is not only loss of feed, loss of money from the farmers, it is again the deterioration of water quality. So if deterioration of water quality will be there, growth will not be there. So two the things we have to save them. So the feeding them on demand. This is the only basic of this thing. That means whatever demand is there, exactly same amount you have to feed. So robotic feeding, floating feeder, it is there. You know, this feeder, it will just feed the fish what is exactly required for them. This way there is zero wastage will be there. I am having some video also. This is called the smart feeder. Smart feeder means the feeding depends upon the water temperature, the diesel oxygen content, everything. So these devices, it can sense what is the water temperature, what is the DO level, then accordingly it can sense the appetite of the fish and the exact amount of feed it will be released. I am having this video of 1 minute. You can see it. You see, this is it estimates the diesel oxygen pH, which is solar power. That means the pH and DO, it determines the feed intake. This is the feeder which float in the air, freely floats. So electrical power is not required. The battery backup is for 4 days. And this can be controlled remotely. And this will capacity of 125 kg feed it can store. And uniformly it is spread the feed. And for shrimp, this is called shrimp talk. That means when shrimp they are together, it can sense their sound, and from that sound it can sense how many shrimps are there, and accordingly it will calculate how many feeds to be released. So this is the smart systems. It is not only the regulate the feed, it can predict the growth also. By by this system, how much feed is going to save it. So this is the feeding system, that feeding system, the 60% cost depends on the feeding. So if you're having any systems which can save this 60%, even 10% saving also a great help to the farmers. So now this demand feeder, automatic feeder, smart feeder, everything it has come, but at the tag of price only. So we can we develop some indigenous method, indigenously develop some automatic feeder or demand feeder, smart feeder with affordable price so that farmers can use in their pond. Otherwise, they are doing the same methods, that is broadcasting or the bag feeding. Now, they're assessing the biomass, that is when we are going for feeding, at a defined percentage of feed is given. For example, suppose we are having 1 ton or 10 ton of fish are there. We are giving 2 to 3% of the body mass. So unless otherwise the accurate biomass, then we can giving extra feed also is wastage. So to measure the biomass, either we have to go for netting manually, that is a laborious methods, and very frequently also you cannot do it. But if we can develop something, the biomass assess from the images, that is possible. That the round red round have made, this is the uneaten feed. That means this information will be given to the farmers, how much feed are not consumed by the fish and how much feed are consumed within how much the time span. So this information will give a very good idea about the feed, how attractive it is to the stream. So this will also save the farmers from the wastage of the feed. Now, these smart systems, it is also possible to measure the length and weight, the length and the width of the fish. From the length and width, we can measure the weight because there is a defined relationship between length, width with the weight. So without netting, we can also estimate the biomass from the images by only measuring the length and width. That is possible. Now, one more is that is behavior studies. Behavior study means many things is not known unless otherwise you study the basic physiology of the fish. Suppose some fishes the behavior of fishes are not same for all. Some fishes are nocturnal. They like to take food in the night time. Some fishes they like to take food in the daytime. So if you're having any devices which can give you information about his behavior of the different fish, definitely it can give you some clues for making a strategy for efficient utilization of the feed or any breeding technique. So that is possible by this thing, when we are combining a camera and echo sounder, both the combination of the camera and echo sounder will help you to know the biomass, their breeding behavior, how much feed they're taking. This will give a clear information to the scientists to making a strategy for either for a good feed or feeding strategy or breeding behavior. Now, one is that is biomass, as I told, this is possible that the biomass estimation of a pond. For example, I'm giving, suppose you have stocked, some farmer have stocked 10,000 fish in a pond. Without knowledge of farmer, if something fish has been poached means stolen, and suppose out of 10,000, 5,000 or 3,000 has been stolen. Without knowledge of farmers used to feed the fish with the same amount in his mind, 10,000. That is total wastage of feed. So if you are having something that the equipment which can automatically calculate the biomass of a pond, then you can give the feed accordingly. You can calculate and you can give the feed accordingly. So this is also a requirement for farmers that unless instead of going for netting and knowing how much fish they are having in the pond, without netting, without putting in the labor, this is also possible. And this some scientists are using these devices. Whether my question is whether these devices can be customized to make farmers friendly at an affordable price. Now coming to the next technology, that is conserving the water. As you know that the water availability, per capita water availability is coming down and down, and it will continue to drop in future also. So in future, there is in future if there is a war, that will be for water only. So when we are going for the fish culture and water is a scarcity, definitely big challenges. So using the same water, how we will use we will go for aquaculture. Now that's why this RAS system, recirculatory aquaculture systems, it is coming up. Now this time in budget also, government is emphasizing to use this RAS system. So to this this is the model of the RAS system for your information. So I will give more information on this thing. That RS system, nothing but you just go on keeping or maintaining the water quality parameter by removing the pollutants. The more pollutant you are removing and the more maintaining your the water quality, that is the best system. You can reuse the waters. This is a very commercial recirculatory system where almost 30% of water, 95% of water is reused. So that's why how can we develop a model? This is very costly. Now government also giving 50% subsidy for this thing, those who are interested for the RAS system, that is recirculatory aquaculture systems. If we can develop some models with indigenous technology, low cost technology, where farmers can afford it. So without having any pond, landless farmers, it will be helpful for them. They can have 2 plastic tanks beside their house, and they can go for intensive culture. If they'll put all the gadgets there, so that water quality will be maintained, same water will be recirculated. This is model of this recirculation system. This is a commercial one. So you can imagine how costly it will be. So it is not that a cup of tea for the small farmers, but definitely it can be customized for the small farmer, because the landless farmers, this will be a gift for the landless farmers, because if they don't have any pond, if they don't have any land, if they can have only 2 tanks, plastic tank, by using this system, they can culture fish with high stocking density. Now, one more technology, that is 11, that is a fish egg counter. Egg counter means, that is again, for a number of eggs, people are traditionally either manually they used to count, or they used to take a small portion of the ovary and they count how many eggs are there, then they calculate what is the weight of ovary that way. I have given, this is a big size egg, that is a trout egg. It's a very interesting, very beautiful eggs. But our that is carp egg are very small. That if you have not seen it, I have given a picture here. So counting that way, it is very difficult. But fish egg sorting and counting machine, it's already developed, but it is very, very costly again. So this is also a requirement for the farmers. If some students can think to develop a fish egg counter definitely it will be helpful for them. I am giving the example 1960. This fish egg counter devices was published in Nature magazine in 1960. Very simple idea. You know, the first one, it is a tank where the water is to flow. Then second, the eggs are stirred and they are allowed to release slowly. And along with the flow of water, it will flow in this pipe where that light beam will pass. When egg will be pass through that one by one that pipe, then from that sensing that light, that electronic counter will count how many eggs are there. So it has been developed in 1960. So now we are much more advanced. We can develop it. One more challenge is watch and ward. That means, you know, most of the fish farm are in the outskirts of the villages. So that is poaching. Poaching means that is theft issue is there. So that even also one watchman is there, he can do cannot do anything. So if this watch and ward devices can be installed there, the farmers or the entrepreneurs can watch his farm from the remote place from these devices. Anybody is coming, so he can take the precautionary measures. That is also required. Watch and ward, remotely control watch and ward systems. Now, the stock assessment. Stock assessment means assessing the fish stock in the sea. So definitely it will be very difficult to catch the fish in the sea, and catching the fish from the sea also is a very costly device. So this picture, this imaging systems, without catching the fish also, you can assess what are, this system can access what are the shape of the fish, which species it belongs to. So this will give the scientists about what is the area, what is the temperature, what is the plankton availability, and what is the availability of different species without any invasive method, without killing the fish, without catching the fish. So this is also one of the area which can be explored. Then coming to harvesting, you know, that is using the artificial bait. Bait means it is similar just like a fish. Otherwise, you know, in a village condition, you go, they put the real fish as a bait to catch the big fish. But this type of bait can be simulated so that you can attract the big size fishes. And nowadays, this bait also comes with release of this smell. The smell means smell of a natural fish. So along with the shape, it automatically release the some odor, so that the fish will be attracted, so that you can catch the fish. This is also one of the area where people can think to work. Now I'm giving the video that how the different devices can be developed for this big octopus. You know, this octopus, this release the ink, this black color ink is a defense mechanism. Whenever there is a disturbance, it releases the being to hide out, and it takes the shelter of a conch. Conch मतलब शंख जो है. So what you can do? So you just study the behavior, and you take where it take the shelter. That type of this shelter can be artificially made, and when it will be dropped, they will take shelter from that thing, and automatically this fish will be caught. Then transporting the live fish, it is one of the more demandable things nowadays. If you go to the market, if fish cost is 150 rupees or 200 rupees, the live fish will be double the cost. So farmers will be benefited. So they ready to give the price, but they want the live fish. But unlike the chicken and everything, that fish, generally getting the live fish is a very difficult thing. So now this is possible. Now this is a new market is coming up. Can we develop a method or a device or a vehicle where we can transport a live fish? I'm giving in Israel, people are using this thing. You know, this is a sucking device. Directly, it can suck the fish, and it will directly go to this tank, which is filled with oxygen and water, and it can be transported to any distance with the live conditions. So, but you know, definitely it will be costly. But the first one, which is modified to a auto, this one can be developed for the farmers, and farmers they can sell the live fish, and this will be in high demand. So this needs to be thought of how you can develop to transport the fish live in a very small vehicle. Similarly, the fish vending vehicles. You know, if you go to the fish market, fish market, most of the fish market are not in good hygienic conditions. Now people are very much conscious. Now they want this type of delivery system, hygienic delivery system. This is possible now in a very metro cities. It already been started. Now these systems, this can be attached to a rickshaw, and this should be solar power. This is a fridge, this solar power operated, and the one farmers can carry the good quality fish to the household so that they will get the quality fish. You know, this is can be developed. This is cycle has been modified with the solar operated system. One fridge is there, so the fish can be kept in the solar operated fridge, and it can be delivered to the doorstep. And at the same time, you know, this automatic cutting machine will be there. So when smartly the hygienic fish will be cut and delivered at the doorstep, definitely all will happy to pay the price. So this is the one system which is required at the present context. Then the most challenging is the freshness of fish. If you are having an experience, whenever you go to the market, then definitely we struggle to know whether the fish is fresh or not. So definitely your traditional knowledge to check the gill color, whether it's red. Sometimes the vendors, they used to the mischievous role by putting some of the color in the gill to look at a very red color. Sorry, red color. Otherwise, they see the condition of the eye. You see that is I have given that 0 days, 5 days, 10 days, 20 days, how this color changes and the condition of the eye changes with respect to different days. And similarly, skin color also it varies. So this is the traditional way we are doing to test the fish whether it is a fresh or the stale fish. So now we are having the mechanism, texture analyzer, everything. Whether we can develop some of the handy analyzer where we can carry along with us. You can go to the market, just put over the fish to test it whether it's fresh or not. This will be a great help for the consumers. This is also required. Nowadays, the per capita consumption, sorry, per capita income is increasing, for which the feeding habit has been changed. So they want to pay the money, but they want a quality food. So this is the requirement, so that when we will get a quality materials, definitely the farmers also getting the price. Otherwise, if somebody selling the fresh materials or the stale materials, it is materials, they are getting hardly there is the price difference. So now there is for a premium, premium product, there should be a price. So we should develop some gadgets. Now I am giving this formalin detection kit. It is developed by one of our sister concern institutes. That is, you might have heard that recently the hue and cry that big fishes for about 10 kg, 5 kg fishes, they are injected with the formalin, which is not good for health hazards. Problems will be there. So now they have developed some kit. So they will put one drop and it will indicate that whether formalin is there or not. So this type of things is required to develop for the health conscious people, for everybody, for the public. Now, coming to the virtual mode. Now we are doing, due to this COVID only, we are very much acquainted with the virtual mode. This meeting we are conducting the virtual mode. So now this aquarium, aquatourism, we can develop for the in a virtual reality. This is developed by computer science students. They can develop it. So this will attract a very good aquatourism. This can be developed anywhere. So actual things is not required, virtual is required. Students will come, tourists will come, so they will enjoy it. This is also a requirement. Now, finally, what we want, the system continuously measures and controls several hydrobiological parameters responsible for growth of fishes, that is the diesel oxygen, pH, biological oxygen demand, temperature, feed, etc. The system consists of a centralized monitoring and display of various parameters and possesses intelligence through predictive precision support system for predicting the stress factor online. That means if you can develop an integrated monitoring systems so that it will monitor and by the artificial intelligence, it will take us automatic decisions. For example, that on suddenly the pH of a that is pond is a decrease. So definitely lead to mortality. So if it will sense that the pH has been decreased, automatically it will dispense the lime so that it will neutralize the pH. So less human intervention will be there. By artificial intelligence, everything will be taken care. This system will be required within very short time, maybe 5 to 10 years. So these are all the stimulus factors I have discussed here for the students. They can think, they can take their project. So the small things they can develop for the farmers, it will be great help. So with this thing, I hope that I have discussed 20 technology. So even it five technology will be it will attract the farmers, students. It will be great help. So we are determined to increase the production, for which profit will be more. But we have reached a stage where without technological support, it is not possible to enhance the productions. With this, I stop it here, and I request that if we can discuss something more about this thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We'll take the questions now. Shasa will start with you.
Okay, I will stop sharing screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Sahu, can I pose a question? Can I pose a question? Yeah. So, what is the role of formalin? Is it a preservative or something? What is the role?
Yeah, it's formalin. If you see that you have gone some of the aquarium, what is this called? So generally dead bodies are preserved in the formalin. Okay. So that's why, that is, suppose one fish weighing around 10 kg or 5 kg, these people what to do, that they inject it formalin, so that they can be more keep for more time. Otherwise, if the fish will spoil, 5 kg fish, there's a huge loss to the farmers. So they do this mischief. They inject formalin actually, so which is very, very hazardous to our health.
No, so what is the mechanism? I mean, it's some biochemistry that allows to keep the fish mass cells alive, or what is the mechanism there of chemistry, if you may say?
That exactly mechanism I may not be able to tell, but this is used as a preservative. It is used as a preservative. You see that all the dead bodies are kept in this formalin, so that the cells are not degenerated.
Okay.
It will be intact. So that based on that principle only they inject it. Even if you see that when we are transporting the dead bodies also, they are putting some chemicals. They are not putting the formalin. Other chemicals are also there, so that their deterioration will be slow.
Okay. Okay. And the toxicity effects to humans are
yes, very high.
Okay. So what is the regulatory, for example, some ppms or ppbs or something like that? Or
so that's why our CIFT, Central Institute of Fishery Technology in Cochin, they have come out with this kit, so that by putting some drop on the fish, it will give you some colorations. That coloration will give you whether it is formalin is there or not.
Okay.
Within acceptable limit or not. It is not acceptable at all, actually.
Okay.
Because I am not expert on that line, that preservative and everything.
No, but that's okay. I mean, I just wanted to know that. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Hello, good evening, sir. My name is Jayant, and I have 3 questions. Like, first is that what is post-harvest loss? Like, can you describe more about that?
Okay. Post-harvest loss means, that is, if you are acquainted with the online supply of this, suppose fresh to home, Licious, that if you are ordering some fish, they will give some streak. Streak means good pieces. So when they are supplying with some streak, definitely the tail piece and head pieces are the wastage for them. Correct. So when you are going for that some processing, that when you are taking a more edible portion, then their wastage will be reduced. That way they are calling the post-harvest loss. In India, compared to other countries, the post-harvest losses are more. So that means if you are not able to produce more, at least if you are saving that way, that post-harvest losses, that also you are contributing more. That is when going for processing, the wastage should be reduced, which can be converted in the edible part. That is the losses.
Okay, so the kind of post-harvest loss is happening because there is a manual intervention in it, and if we convert it into automation, then the machines are much more capable of reducing that kind of loss, right?
Yeah.
And second thing is that just you have said that the government is like providing money for the startup or the innovations that a student can bring. So is there any availability for that, like from the government side?
I think last week only there was a meeting with the Secretary, Animal Husbandry and Fisheries, along with all the deans. And of course, there only I put a proposal that can we provide some financial assistance to the final year students, because final year students they don't get, after completion of the degree, they don't get any financial assistance or fellowship. At that time, they also cannot ask money from their parents. If some financial assistance can be given at that time for 6 months and a contingency amount of 1 lakh rupees, so they can start something. And either it can be considered as a loan or it can be given so that when they will start earning, they can repay it. I have given position, they have appreciated, but let's see that how they are going to implement it. And hopefully they may implement it, because they are having sufficient fund for this 20,000 crore they have given. So in various way they want to spend it. That is a policy decision. I have given this proposal. Let's hope how they are lenient towards the students community.
Okay, and sir, last question is that like, is there any new innovations in this sector related to AI? Like you are giving examples that these systems are very expensive, but in India, is there any recent innovations which are cheap and which are affordable, which are related to AI, sorry, artificial intelligence?
So
So
AI, that is, in aquaculture, I can divide two parts. One is fish culture and another is shrimp culture. Fish culture, they don't want to put more money because the return is comparatively less to the shrimp. Shrimp, they are getting good money because for shrimp, they are getting 300 to 400 rupees per kg, whereas for fish, they are getting 100 to 150 rupees per kg. So for shrimp, they are getting the return within 3 to 4 months. So that's why these corporate houses are involved in shrimp productions. So they are now using some artificial intelligence systems for their monitoring of their farm, automatic systems, water quality monitoring system. They have put it, and that is IoT based. What they can be monitored from their home without going to the farm. So some farms they have already implemented. What that is some country like Israel, very small countries where their production is very high, and they are using all the high tech gadgets and artificial intelligence. So they are culturing, rather you can say that is generally for fish we used to remove water to get the fish, but this is reverse there. They used to remove fish from the water, more fish, less water. So they are using this thing without artificial intelligence or monitoring system. It is not possible to maintain water quality or maintain that much high stocking density. India, it is
okay,
only
sir,
for only very few for shrimp farming, not for fish farming, because not affordable.
okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
So I request you to go through the chat box once. There are almost 7-8 questions which are there for you.
Yeah, chat box. Okay.
Yes, sir.
In fact, Sudha, it will be better if you read out the chat box questions one by one so that Professor Sahu can answer.
It is from Ahmad Salgaonkar. He's our students. He's there. Okay.
Yeah, hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening,
So the
Ahmad. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
great to see you here, sir.
yeah, thank you. So he's also entrepreneur, and he might tell that whether how many farmers are using this artificial intelligence shrimp farming.
Yeah, so to give the update, at least as in India, as you correctly told, particularly it get used for this shrimp farming. As far as the freshwater fishes farming is concerned, maybe it's a tilapia or IMC, it has not been used. The most prominent reason for that is the cost which has been involved. Like few of the techniques also which you were suggesting, means I also aware of many of those things, but major reason is the cost again involved. Like those aqua feed monitoring, something also you shared, no, that smart feeding system. So that Umitron is also based in Singapore, and they have developed in a very good way. But the thing is that how we can make it affordable here, considering the Indian farmers. And that RAS particularly, sir, I asked the questions because I also wanted to aware, because I inquired at many places, but nobody have given me the answers for that. Okay, how exactly it's being used, or which species to be cultured particularly for that technology if we wanted to use here in India.
Okay, you know that RAS now it has been taken as a more political shape than this thing as a scientific, because RAS means, as I told, the farmers, mostly in the Bihar state, the farmers having a mindset that the landless farmers, that this will be a gift to them because they don't have any land. So if they will have only 2 tanks, they can produce fish intensive way. But you know that is a this RS system needs a skill or knowledge, intensive knowledge. Without knowledge, if you are jumping to RS, definitely you will burn your fingers. And but anyway, that the government is coming big way and they are giving subsidy, 50% subsidy for RS. They are promoting, and our minister also is very much interested for RS. But you know that mostly some people are giving training RS, but they don't have any other production unit. Only by YouTube, everything they are giving training, and farmers blindly they are going to adopt this thing. But anyway, now this ministry they are developing some model RS where farmers will come and they will see and they will implement. But definitely, I have a reservation that this RS is not meant for the small farmers or without having knowledge. Anybody should not jump into this. This really requires intensive knowledge and practice.
Yeah, of course. Because why I ask at this forum how it is happening, like many a times, many farmers raise these questions that to whom exactly we have to approach to get the right
Yes, yes.
training. I have even raised those questions here in State Fisheries Department as well, but they didn't get back to me saying any of the answers. But like you say, one of the good thing is that government is providing now the subsidy or money. Now we have to check how it has to go forward actually, but that's the good step taken by government of India.
But in Matsya Sampada Yojana, the RS is a priority, and they are giving some the demonstration unit, and hopefully very quickly it will come. And they have a special budget for RS, and this training and that the model farm, the model demonstration farm, demonstration unit, it will be quickly it will be installed. Who will do it, where it will be done, this decision has not been taken.
One student also was asking some time back one question regarding how to get the fund availability and the things. So my suggestion to the students that in case if you can go through the details of PMMSY, there are many components under central funding as well. If you just cross check in detail, all the detailed framework is available. Yes, maybe you can apply through institute as well under entrepreneurship. Yes. You can just go through it.
In details, you will find in the Ministry of Fisheries and Animal Husbandry, that is Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, details are there. So it is not 100% support. This is a combination of public and private partnership or any entrepreneurship, different proportions for ST students, SC students, OBC students, general students, different categories are there. How many subsidy will be given? Yes. So shall I read some more questions written there, one by one? First one will be with.
I think I asked you most of the questions.
Yeah.
I think they're covered.
It is covered.
I think you have answered the questions which were there in the chat box.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
Shah sir, you have a question?
Yeah, can I?
Yeah, sir.
Yeah, Dr. Sahu, I wanted to ask that question which I initially asked. What is happening is government is getting into, the Ministry of Rural Development is getting into Nutri Gardens in a big way. Now, these could be individual Nutri Gardens or it could be community Nutri Gardens. The general impression whenever we talk of Nutri Garden is that it is something which is only catering to a population which is vegetarian. So whereas we had a talk by Anshuman Das and he pointed out that you can always retrofit a backyard poultry, that is much easier. Backyard poultry is a known concept. And he said that it's also possible to look at backyard fisheries. being integrated with a NutriGarden.
Okay.
Now, the reason for asking whether this is feasible was that we already have a NutriGarden movement where we know successful NutriGarden experiments. So where they are already successful, then you have the people who have the capacity, ability to handle it. They will be more recipient towards retrofitting a backyard fishery module. So are such modules there, or can those be developed? So where I think either a women's self-help group or even individual marginal farmer in his or her NutriGarden can retrofit a backyard fishery unit.
Okay. I think that what I understand, NutriGarden means it is garden means plant-based, correct? NutriGarden. No, it includes all.
It includes all.
It includes all. NutriGarden means just backyard activities, anything that can be added to the nutrition.
Yeah, you see, earlier we used to have this concept of kitchen garden. It has now moved further.
NutriGarden.
Yeah, it has a combination of various things which gives you some nutritious food or the other around the year, and it could typically be 400-500 square feet, but it can go larger also. It can go to 1,000 square meter as well.
Okay.
That's why I said it can be community, it can be individual.
Okay.
So I'm saying if there is a successful individual community, a successful individual NutriGarden or a community NutriGarden, can we think in terms of
Sir, it's a very old concept, that is integrated farming.
Yeah.
Integrated farming, you might be heard about this thing. That means where the different combinations of agri animal combinations, agri animal fishery, horti, different combinations are there. For different models are also there. We are having a institute at in UP, Meerut, that is integrated farming system research. So they only work on which type of combinations, different combinations, animal and agriculture combinations will work for which area. They have developed model for every combinations. For example, suppose somebody having cow or poultry, so now that can be combined or they can be integrated to a pond. The output of a unit will be input for the other.
Yeah.
So that way that is integrated. For example, suppose the urine from the cow or cow dung, it will be an input for the plankton development of the pond. So though there will be no additional requirement of fertilizer or feed for the fish. So that cow dung and urine will be a nutrient source for the plankton growth, which will be utilized for the fish. At the same time, same water also can be utilized for the horticulture purpose. So the pond water for the fish and horticulture purpose. That way they are going for integration together. The output of one component will be input of the other.
So these standard modules are available.
It is there, and that institute, as I told, that integrated farming system research at Meerut, they are doing for different models.
Okay.
So that is specifically for this thing only.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Abhishek?
Any other things that I can?
Sir, one more question. Sorry, I'm disturbing you.
No.
Globally, sir, what I'm finding these days that many of the big players in this aquaculture field, they are going towards, or they are researching a lot for using the plant-based ingredients in their feed. More and more money they are involving in that matter. Any of the examples or any of the big feed player here in India at the moment is using plant-based ingredient in their fish meal or fish oil? Means any idea or any experiments, even if it's going on?
Okay. You see that generally for the European countries, their maximum species are carnivorous. So they are using much more fish meal or fish oil in their diet. So that's why they are using this. They are promoting, or they are advising everybody to use that plant-based ingredients. For us, generally for fish, we never use any fish meal. For shrimp, yes, it is used. But I know that is everybody has the apprehension that if you are going to replace fish meal, definitely growth will be reduced. But many combinations, suppose soybean-based feed has been developed with addition of nutraceuticals. When they are giving these nutraceuticals, the deficient nutrient of plant-based feeds will be supplemented through nutraceuticals. Then it will be taken care. Many examples nowadays that is zero fish meal based feed has come. But practically, I will tell you, not a single company in India they are coming with zero fish meal based shrimp feed. Of course, we are never using any fish meal in the fish feed. Only for the shrimp feed only you are using some extent because it acts as an attractant. Unless otherwise you are giving some fish meal, they will not attract towards the feed. What now attractant has come, the deficient nutrient you are giving, different feed additives have been used. So absolutely, theoretically, it has been proved that it's not required at all. And of course, in European countries, they have developed zero fish meal based diet. It is there. But when we are coming for the practical use, it is still they are using fish meal. Unless otherwise it comes to a zero availability, people will go on using this thing because they are having a strong faith that when they are using fish meal, that growth rate is more. In India, yes, nobody is using this zero fish meal base. They are using fish meal for shrimp feed.
Okay, so just one more question, last question. I have seen that some examples in UAE wherein they are using some mangroves in combination with fish culture, and that particular mangroves or algae is being used for the production of biodiesel.
Okay.
So any idea you do have regarding the algae or the mangroves or that sort of species which are getting used for the production of biodiesel or biofuel?
You know, that is biodiesel, biofuel. Dr. Saha also, they are working on this thing. Now, this concept is still in theory. Practically, it has till now that the total world is struggling to come up with a economic way of coming out from biodiesel, biofuel. But nowhere it is there that, but theoretically it's going everywhere. And somewhere they have stopped initially that Jatropha as a biofuel. It came a big way. Now it has taken a halt. So biofuel as a commercial venture, it is not going to be feasible, and it's going to be very, very costly.
NALCO supported a project which went for algae-based biodiesel. The algal production is fairly high. I don't know what happened subsequently to the biodiesel route of it. But in case you want to check out, Siddhant Das was the CCF in the Ministry of Forest. He had informed me this about a couple of years back. So if anyone is interested, we can get that information.
So everywhere across the globe, that this algae, many algae has been identified which contains more lipid, but extraction of lipid from them in a commercial way, it is not a successful venture has come. I think very less. That's why till now, not commercially, it has not come. It is still remains in theory. Everywhere, the people are not coming with a commercial model. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Hello.
Yes.
So I want to ask, like, is the geographical location plays any role in this fish ponds? Like some areas there is high rain or less rain.
Cage culture.
Yes, sir.
You are asking about cage culture? Yeah.
Geographical like in productivity of these ponds or
some disturbance are there.
Dr. Sahu, he is asking, like you have water quality, which sort of influences the sort of fish productivity, like that, whether the geographical location would influence the productivity parameters in fish?
For cage culture, no?
No, general. I think he is asking.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. As I told from the first slide, number one technology, productivity. The natural food for fish is a plankton. So even if you are giving the best food available in the world, definitely they will go for the plankton. So first choice is that to promote the primary productivity, that is the plankton. Then if you are going for high stocking, additionally you have to give the feed. So the soil quality, soil parameters, water parameters contribute a lot for productivity, plankton productivity. What is the carbon nitrogen ratio of the soils and everything? So that water quality parameter, soil parameter plays a major role for the plankton productivity. Even also in the same area, you know, that is the plankton productivity of a pond may not be similar with the adjacent pond. It differs with the soil quality. It greatly affect.
Okay, so before like setting the farm, it is like needed to check these things.
Yes, yes. This is a primary requisite, prerequisite rather.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any more? Huh?
Hello, good evening, sir. And first of all, thank you for sharing all these ongoing technologies. My question is regarding one of that. Sir, you shared idea about fish vending vehicles in which there's one person who uses solar panel and attached the fridge with them and pulled it with the help of one cycle rickshaw.
Yeah.
So, sir, my question is there any because as solar panels are extremely means expensive and not affordable for the local farmers, so is there any other chemical alternative like any solar adsorption refrigeration system? Is there any feasibility of the system which can replace solar panels and just uses the solar flux for producing the cooling effect?
That is my question you are putting to me. That is because I have given that model. So I am telling that you just come out with any idea which will be affordable and which will be cheaper.
Actually,
so,
sir, I have my major project was solar adsorption refrigeration system, but in which we face problem with the zeolite, geolite adsorbent pair, which is zeolite and water. So that's why I was asking, is there any alternative of such pair available, or any ongoing practice is going on to replace that?
I'm not sure because that is not my area. My area on the field only. So that you have to explore what is the alternate. So if that solar is going to be costly, what is the alternate? So that final is that farmers would get a technology with a affordable price. That you have to explore what is the science behind it. But that is a requirement.
Is that Yashwant? Yashwant, you asked the question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Yashwant, you know, one of your seniors some 2-3 years back worked on those affordable ice making machines on the small fish boat. So perhaps you could take a look into the thesis of, I forget his name. He was a RUTAG staff earlier. So he developed the machine, and then almost 2-3 students worked on that machine. It was with our mechanical engineering faculty member named Professor Milind. And perhaps you could sort of look into the mechanisms that they used and the cost of ice production on this one, without having to use the electricity.
Sure, sir. Yes, Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes, sir. I will.
Can be explored. If similar work has been done by your seniors.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Sudha, you can close now, perhaps. I think there are no more pressing questions.
There is one more hand up, Arshi's.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Good evening, sir. Arshi Rizvi this side. So, as fishery and aquaculture are a vital source for job and nutrition food, and economic opportunities are also there. And so, we continue seeing excessive and irresponsible harvesting and capture of fishery. Also, there is disease outbreaks in aquaculture. So is hello.
Yeah. I couldn't hear you properly, but anyway, continue.
Yeah. So,
What?
so we, hello, am I audible?
Yeah, it's audible, but your voice is breaking. Hello.
Arshi,
So
speak,
we,
speak
hello,
a
am I
little
audible?
little louder you speak, please.
Or Arshi, put your question on
Yes,
the
sir. Hello.
Yeah. Con
Yes, sir. So I
Now
will
it is
put
better. Yeah.
it. Yeah. So we are seeing excessive and irresponsible harvesting in capture of fisheries, and also there is disease outbreaks in to tackle.
I think that some connectivity issues are there. So can you put the question in the chat box?
Arshi, we were not able to hear you correctly. Could you please put
Use
your
the chat
question
box.
in the chat box? Yeah.
Okay, while she's writing the question, maybe I can probably this is what she's heading into. So this is Anand. I have
Yeah.
a question regarding. So we know that we had this green revolution, and that helped us to get into this today's situation where we have food security in agriculture sector. We boosted the productivity, but then we have also then later realized the externalities of chemical based agriculture, the impact it is having on environment and in general the food quality, etc. So now with this blue revolution, we are trying to bring in a lot of technology and other inputs in fish production. So do you see or do you have any kind of a warning signal in terms of what should be avoided, or so that we don't have to regret later? So are there any lessons from other countries who have been doing a lot of intensive fish culture or aquaculture? So are there things that need to be definitely avoided in our own situation? So are there any lessons like that?
Yes. Actually, you have asked a good question. And that a similar thing happened in the China. China, number one in aquaculture. They exploited like anything. And China is number one and we are number two. And the difference is 10 times. That is no comparison. Even if you are number two, China production is 10 times more than us. But they have exploited the natural resources. Then they have reached a stage where the disease problem, everything, it was uncontrollable. Then finally they have to come out with some policy to stop. That means they have to go for in a sustainable way. So nowadays, whatever we are going with the aquaculture, sustainable tag is there. So they have defined that what type of that is nowadays antibiotic are not being used in the feed. Previously it was used. Stocking density they have used. What type of chemicals to be used has been defined. So that means now the aquaculture means not exploitation. It is a sustainable aquaculture production. So everything the rule regulations has been defined properly, so that our future generations should not be sufferer. It has been taken care for the environmental issues. It is a first issue that we have to address before going for aquaculture. So guidelines are there.
Okay, thanks. I think Arshi has put in the question. Sudha, you can read it.
She is a little
So
yeah.
We continue seeing excessive and irresponsible harvesting in capturing fisheries, and also there is disease outbreaks in aquaculture. So is there any system or management to tackle such situations?
Yeah. For capture fisheries, there is some rules, regulations are there. For example, that is juvenile fishes. That the juvenile fishes are not supposed to be in the market. So that's why that is what should the mesh size, everything, the rules are there. But still then that is illegally some fishes, juvenile fishes landed in the market. But for that rules are there, and the strict regulations are there. That is for capture fisheries. That over exploitation is not possible. And during the monsoon time, the 2 months, there is ban is there. That from government side, every state governments, they used to impose a ban for 2 months during the breeding seasons, because they want to, if they are protecting the breeders, definitely the offspring will be there. So that is a one regulation will be there. For juveniles, they are having the rule regulation what should the mesh size. It is there. So that way they capture fisheries. For culture fisheries, as I told that when we are going for that high stocking density, the disease problem will be there. For disease problem again, that is practically or honestly, if you're telling that if you are going for a high stocking density, the stress will be there, and the stress will lead to disease problem for which we are facing. For shrimp industries, a lot of disease problem are there. New type of disease problem are there. Only due to that over exploitations it is there. But you know that sometimes just like the COVID we are facing, that we don't have any treatments. Sometimes similar way also in aquaculture, some new disease comes till you get a solutions, the total crop washed out. This situation is always there. So whenever is a new disease problem, obviously it takes some time to tackle it. Or before that, we are having the precaution measure for other diseases which are very common and routine. For them, what is the treatment measures? It is always defined.
If you allow, I wanted to add something over here, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here one of the being from FRM department, usually how it happens, like there are few systems are available in the world for capture fisheries with the name TAC. It is called total allowable catch. But as far as India is concerned, particularly our fisheries is a tropical based fisheries. Tropical based fisheries, when I'm saying, the reason many of the fishes are breeding number of times, and that time it becomes difficult to imply the exact gears. Like in the same area, there are many fishes, different breeding patterns, and one gear you cannot apply to the many fishes. That's why there are different rules and regulation you will find in particular state. Fisheries is a state subject, so you will not find even the universal rule applying for the entire India. So those rules and regulations are always available. Maybe that will help you out as far as aquaculture capture fisheries is concerned. And like sir told regarding aquaculture also, there are even few diseases which didn't find any vaccines yet. Like one of the major which all people are aware of is about WSSV. Which is one of the major disease in shrimp. When it occurs, the entire crop is going. But so far, the developments have not reached till that level that some vaccine have already been available in the market. So consistent research is the only solution, and proper following or adaptation of this management, which has been given by the government. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
So as we don't have any more questions, I would like to conclude. On behalf of Sitara, I really thank you, sir, for such an informative session. And I would like our HOD A.B. Rao, sir, to say a few words.
Thanks, Sudha. And thank you so much, Dr. Sahu. I think you retained the students till end of this 1.5 hour or longer session. So that shows that you have generated interest in all these engineers about this new opportunity that exists to collaborate with fishery scientists. And then, I mean, there has been some past efforts in Sitara. We have been collaborating with on a variety of projects through tag and otherwise. So I hope that this can continue, and thank you so much for taking out time to encourage our students to look at this new field. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for giving me opportunity and connecting to you. I am specifically thankful to Dr. Professor Saha. I have been interacting with him since the last maybe 5-6 months, and
yes.
And hopefully we can do something so that today is we have signed. That's a good day. We have started the seminar, and
Sure.
in future we will continue to work, and we are hopeful for the project working together for the KJ aquaculture and for feed for that thing. And,
yes, sir.
Thank you, Professor Anand, and
Sure.
to introduce with you first time. And hopefully we'll physically after this COVID.
Actually, we have met in the past. I mean, that several years ago when there was a complete lecture series and that was held here in IIT.
Okay. Anyway, so
yes,
thank
Professor
you.
Shah, would you like to say something at the end?
Yeah, thank you very much. And I really want to thank my stay in AIT Bangkok. That's how I came to know about Dr. Sahu. One of the colleague there, Dr. Saleen, who was a colleague in that department at AIT Bangkok, he introduced me, and then I had a WhatsApp call with Dr. Sahu. And two of our students are right now doing some work. One is Mr. Sudhakar, who is colleague of Sudha, and another is like Yogendra Shastri and my student who is working on if possible, if we can use algal source as the feed for fish. And we would really want Dr. Sahu to help our students, because we really do not know the biology, and less of fish and less of aquaculture. So if we can use your knowledge and your laboratory facilities, as you said, we signed a MOU also. Our Dean of R&D today signed a MOU with you. And for your information, Professor Anand and colleagues and students, Professor Sahu is a Dean academic there. And so I hope we can use your ponds and the facilities that you have here for a joint work and joint research questions that we can mutually decide. Thank you once again for your seminar.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Thanks a lot.
For information, sir, we don't have any pond here, but we have pond facility at our center. From 5 centers, I told. There only we are having the pond facility. Bombay, Unknown space concentrated there. So we are only having the academic block, and we are having this farm facility for a small trial. But for pond facility, we are having at Rohtak, Pawarkheda, Kakinada, and Motipur, Bihar. So we can extend that facility.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you again for giving opportunity. Thank you all.
Bye.
See.